Today, we're chatting with one of our trusted business and creative collaborators, Kate Reeve, the founder of CommuniKATE Design and Marketing.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you guys?
Great. Thanks for joining us today. We're so happy to have you here.
We're excited to dive in and, talk about CommuniKATE and how it came to be and hear your story and, the path that led you to where you are. If you want to tell us a little bit more about CommuniKATE and what inspired you to start your business.
CommuniKATE Design and Marketing, we are a boutique creative agency that believes small moves can make big waves. And when you harness the power of intentional design through your marketing, website, branding, materials, and more, you can sell further faster. So how did we begin? We didn't have a clear path, which happens a lot with a lot of entrepreneurs. I've been in the industry for over 15 years. I've done everything from corporate to large ad agencies, from California to Florida, Montana, and everything in between. But really what came to fruition was I wanted to help other people be able to break away from the 9 to 5. So many people get stuck on these traps, and it's so difficult nowadays when it comes to families and different life pressures and things like that. And I really want to empower businesses and people to be able to go after their dreams. And if I can help that through any marketing lens, I'm excited to be a part of people's journeys.
What was the biggest lesson you learned or surprise you encountered when you went from, the idea of your business to actually transitioning in to being a full-time business owner?
Well, so that's kind of a funny story. I wasn't ever planning on being a business owner. I had been in the industry and I had just moved from Nashville to Montana at the time. And I had this great resume and no one would hire me in Montana. It was so funny. I had all this wealth of experience and I've always freelanced. And then suddenly it dawned on me. I was like, well, you know what? I can do this myself. I had to learn a lot of lessons when it comes to invoicing and accounting and the business side of the fence. So I was really great at my niche. So I've been learning a lot of lessons on that side, a lot of big pitfalls that I have found, but it's really been fun overcoming those objections for the last 6 years.
So, with all the demands and different facets of running a business, how do you take the time to protect that creative energy?
Two things. I'm empowered by bubbly water and coffee. So those are my superhero powers. And then I run. So that's my other thing that I do to try to keep my creative juices flowing. I'm a mom of two. So that's a full-time job in itself. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I want to have the freedom of my own time. And that's the biggest driver across the thing. So even when I'm really tired or I'm working till 1 a.m. on a presentation or trying to do a fast turnaround for a client, I really try to take my clients' businesses as my own and just say, if I was in their seat, if I could get this one asset done, would that help me out at this trade show? Would this help me out at this event? Would this one landing page make a difference? And I really feel like that empowers me a little bit. So it helps give me that a little extra boost to go the extra mile.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with being a business owner, just we're all solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. You have to wear those different hats. You've been in business since 2018, 2019. How long did it take you to realize, hey, I have to block these times out for different roles?
I had to get really defensive with my calendar is what I've learned to do. And I now joke, if you don't exist on my calendar, you don't exist. And I've actually started to implement a lot of tools to help with that protection. And with the power of AI and things like that, it's made it a lot easier. So for example, I use Calendly now as a great way to buffer my meeting times. And then it automatically buffers before my meeting and after my meeting. And it sets certain time zones ahead of that. And then I link it to things like my Honeybook account to have everything get synced out and do automations. So it's hard because I'm probably the worst person when it comes to my calendar because I always want to do more, more, more. And as a solo entrepreneur, that list never ends. And I'm kind of equating it to housework. The housework never ends. You have to continuously do updates and changes and things like that. But you have to just keep at it. Know that some days the dishes are going to just be left out. And that's okay. And your business is not going to fail tomorrow because you left a cup out on the sink. So I try to go with that mentality of like, let's just keep on trying to push every day as hard as you can. And then also just be gentle with yourself and then defensive for yourself. And no is a full sentence. So sometimes you just have to say no to an opportunity.
A question I have on that, on the entrepreneurship and the balancing of your schedule. Do you calendar in your personal, like exercise time? You mentioned running, all of that. Is that in the calendar or is that two separate calendars?
So I'm allowed to on Calendly to say you can only go for certain blocks of time. I've now designated Mondays as my catch-up days, so no one's allowed to schedule a meeting with me on Mondays. And that might sound like I might miss out on opportunities, but without that, it kind of gives me a sanity refresh in case I need to catch up on anything from the week prior. I'm setting for the tone of the week. And then I really do try to prioritize my mental health as well, because as a solo entrepreneur, it's tough and you're tired because you're running 24/7. And I'm one of those workaholics that could work myself into the ground. Like that may be the ad agency person in me where I just love to work. But am I working at my best that way? Probably not. So I have to try to really take a pause, take a step back, take a breath and say, okay, where are my high payoff activities and what can I automate or hire out to help me? Because trying to literally do it all on your own is just silly at this point.
Well, in design, I feel like creativity takes up so much brain power too. So having to schedule that time out is so important. Nina, what did you call your 3 days you scheduled out?
My own strategic planning. I'm just going to sit down, and I was saying I'm going to have my first annual next week and I'm taking 3 days. I've got some associates that I've asked to help plan some things so I'm not just completely in my own brain the entire time. I've actually booked in some me time too with a massage for my retreat, even though I'm a solopreneur. So just trying to make the most of my strategy planning for next year and 3 years out is what I'm looking at.
And Nina, you bring up such a great point. Having trusted thought partners has really been a strategic plus for me. You guys both know, we've worked together and everything. Being able to bounce off of somebody else is so incredibly valuable. And then just for anyone else out there, SCORE is a great mentorship program. It's free through the SBDC. So that's a great resource. And then your local chamber. I know Jacksonville, we have a lot of great resources for entrepreneurs, but there's a ton of different programs out there. And you sometimes have to take the time to find the one that really fits your niche. But I think it's so valuable to have someone else just to talk to because you can live in your head.
And
Kate, can you talk? That's interesting you bring up. Yes, you're definitely one of our trusted partners, both Mackenzie's and mine. You and I started about the same time with our businesses. And I think we had one meeting through a networking community here before the world shut down with COVID. And then we were still able to get my website up and running during that time, but you had to do a lot. We both had to do a lot virtually. So I'm just curious kind of how, your business has evolved during that time. You started in Montana. That's where I met you. And now you're in sunny Florida. We're jealous. So maybe just share a little bit of that journey and how you adapted as an entrepreneur.
So I'm a military brat. So that's one of my superhero powers. I have learned how to work a time zone like you wouldn't believe since I was a child. So if I wanted to stay friends with someone in New York and I lived on an island in the South Pacific, true story, you really had to learn how to count the calendar and the clock of when to call so you're not calling at 2 a.m. because nobody wants to talk to you then. So I really believe just being able to try to juggle everything, it's a balancing act, just trying to figure it all out.
Kate, we've been talking about a little bit of our networking groups where you and I first met here through a networking group. And you just mentioned the entrepreneurship group that you're a part of now. Could you speak a little bit more about community and what that means to you and how you develop that and cultivate it in your business?
Well, the thing that I've really learned is I'm so glad I'm not alone because there is so much to learn and there's so many different facets of business and there's so many people that you could use to support you. So I've really been on a big networking train. I believe in really getting involved into your community. So like I said, Chamber is a great opportunity. They have a ton of different niche groups like on social media, Facebook groups, things like that. Blogs, TikTokers. You can follow different businesses and different organizations on so many facets. One of the struggles, though, I've come across you can fill up your entire calendar with it. So I would say pick a few, one or two, taste test them for a hot minute, kind of dive in and check it out enough for somebody to recognize your name and face before you go on to the next one. But I think really trying to utilize some of these different groups, and then just read. I love reading. Like, I know that the community is great, but there's so many good books that are out there. Atomic Habits, Traction, Start with Why, Never Split the Difference. Like, I am a avid reader, and there's so many more great books out there. But if you don't know where to start, there's this wonderful thing called Google. No, just teasing. Utilize the resources that are out there. There's absolutely nothing wrong with starting with looking on YouTube or, before you join a group. But once you want to get to that next level, I do think having some of those face-to-face interactions really help you. And then really working on your 30, 60, and 90-second pitches is really important. So you can be able to communicate your business effectively to whoever your target audience is within certain time frames. So I think that's really important key too. So when you go to these, you can utilize that time most efficiently.
So, in terms of networking, then what I'm hearing is you're not networking for business necessarily. You're networking to have thought partners, to have creative ideas, to help facilitate sounding partners, ideas off of, learn new things, tools available. Is that?
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. And then what I'm here for is I'm not here to sell anybody anything. The only thing I'm trying to do is solve a problem. And if someone's problem happens to be on a website or their branding or something like that, I raise my hand and say, hey, I can help with that. But I'm not going in there with, hey guys, let's like buy this new shiny front, because people don't like that sleaze. So it's really important to go with that kind of mindset, but really having great partners and great strategic other business owners in your life, it really is a reflection on you and helps elevate you to the next level. So I think that creating that core group is really important.
Yeah, putting yourself in rooms where you want to be. I know we've talked about this separately, but I think it's so powerful, especially when, you're a designer, you're also a business owner, and just having those other perspectives, it's valuable.
Exactly.
So, Kate, I'm curious, as a designer, who are your client base? Is it entrepreneurs?
So I have it laid out in my personas. I call them my FMADs, right? So what's an FMAD? That's founders. Founders are usually solo entrepreneurs or small businesses that are trying to have their DIY materials actually match the caliber of their products or services. You have M is for Mike the Builder. So these are service-oriented companies that are roofing or construction. So kind of more that blue collar and everything. Alex is my A, Alex at the agency. So these are different creative collaborators. So this could be ad agencies, media companies, things that are trying to build up another area, but they need to be whitelisted. And D is Dallas, the director. I can't forget about my nonprofits. It's been a great place for me to start. That's also a way to get in if you're trying to figure out your business and try to make a little bit of money, but also help someone else and boost that resume. I feel like partnering with a nonprofit and offering some of your services, even if it's a la carte, it will get you part of those portfolio pieces that you might be able to look for, and getting your name out there and not coming in from a sales direction, but from that helpful partner perspective. So that's another angle that I've worked.
And with your clients, looking at the services that you provide, what do you see as one of the biggest mistakes you see somebody just starting out make with their design and media?
I guess two things, twofold. One, you don't need to spend $1 million right out the gate. You can taste test something. So don't feel like if you don't have it all put together on day one, you're falling behind. It's okay. Things are evolved. So don't ever feel guilty about that. But two, after a while, your DIY does show through. You need to have a polished look and feel. And when I talk about branding, you guys have heard me say this, but you really want to wear your brand like your absolute favorite jacket. Like you just can't, like you're dying to wear it. It's your best look. And if you don't feel that way about your brand, it might be time for a refresh. And what's your rationale behind it? Did you just like the color blue? Did you just pick out the name because ChatGPT said it was? What's your brand story? If you can't answer those core questions, maybe it's time to take a look and go back to the drawing board and say, let me reevaluate that. And then also, lastly, when it comes to your website, nobody wants to read a book. I love that you might be a professional and an expert in your fields and everything like that, but having 3 big old blocks of copy, people just want to chuck that out the window. It needs to be in small bite-sized chunks. It needs to have scannability, and you need to be able to just get in and get out and have that user experience. What's the purpose? So every piece of your marketing material must have a purpose to it, whether it's a call to action to sign up for something, to get a lead, to join an event, to do a one-on-one, whatever it may be. Make sure there's intention and follow through with every piece. Just saying, here's a flyer, hire me. Like, you need to have a little bit more than that.
I enjoy working with you, Kate, because one of the things I like, everything you just said kind of went over my head. And what I love though about working with you is you make it so understandable and bite-sized. In the past with building my website, which we started off small, one page at a time, basically, and it's grown. It's exciting. But you guided me through the process of thinking because I wouldn't know, why did I come up with the name? What is the best name? What's my story behind it? And you walked me through all of that, which was really helpful. So what advice would you have for anyone who feels stuck in terms of how they differentiate themselves, how they stand out against their competitors? I'm in the human resources consulting business. There's a lot of us out there. Mackenzie's role, same thing. Your type of business, same thing. So what advice would you have?
Freaking love a good competitive analysis. Like, you wouldn't even believe. Take a barometer of what's happening in your backyard. So look at it from a local, regional, and national standpoint. Google the type of keywords you would want someone to research for your business. Type that in. Try to find about 3 to 5 different companies within each of those different areas, small, medium, and large. So local, regional, and national. So that will give you a good scale of what's being stated in the marketplace with your specific industry, because you have to know what's happening in your own backyard. So that kind of gives you a landscape of an overall view of what's going on. So that's part one. So now you know what's kind of happening. So part two is, how do you differentiate yourself from the mass noise, right? And a really great opportunity to be able to do that, do a simple SWOT analysis. And if you don't know what it is, quick Google it. But it's strengths and weaknesses. So those are internal factors, and opportunities and threats. And those are external factors, right? So when you're looking at that, you can figure out, hey, I have a strength in this area, and there's an opportunity over there. Okay, these two things are aligning. Let me now focus on this offering that's out there. So really, at the bottom line, it's doing your homework. It's nothing like cool or sexy that's like a quick trick or anything, but it's just doing analysis of who's out there, what are they doing, and then how can you differentiate yourself, and then make sure to add a little bit of you into it. Once again, that goes back to your brand, because no one just wants to buy another boring gray box. Like, I don't care what your product is or your service and everything like that. You need to have a rationale, because there's a lot of noise to break through. So let's create some of those powerhouses to be able to get to that next stage.
Yes. Obviously, your business has evolved. You see other businesses evolve. What advice do you give people doing easily digestible things? Do you say, hey, let's do some assets for your media? Let's do a website. What would you say would be the first start?
Number one is brand. So make sure you have a good brand identity, because you need to have that consistent. Even if you just have a social media site or just a Facebook group or something like that, that's going to be the cornerstone of everything. The next phase is going to have a really good website. If your website is not up to snuff, you don't exist in the world, right? So you need to make sure that you can be easily found and have that behind you. Then we can start adding in different marketing materials. Now, it's like, do I buy a flyer? Do I do a digital ad campaigns? Am I buying this or that? It really varies depend upon the business and everything and what the business goals are. So there's not a magic mix there. But when you're focusing everything, I always circle back to the 4 P's of marketing. So that's your product, price, place, or promotion. Really want to focus on just one of those, and then tailor your information around that. And then as you grow, scale up. So once again, you can go to market with $1 million and push through, but most businesses don't have that type of budget. So figure out what your core target audience is. What are you trying to sell them? How do you differentiate yourself? And then focus on that niche, and how do they absorb media? Where do they live? And then kind of go work it that way. Or else some of your marketing dollars can just fall flat.
Wow. That is some great advice.
Fantastic.
Writing that one down.
So how is your own branding, Kate, being in the biz, how has that evolved over time? I mean, I'm a little bit jealous your name is Kate and you can do communicate. The play on the word is wonderful. I can't do that with HR and Nina don't jive. How has your own branding from your company evolved?
So I have to be honest. For the first 5 years, it was pretty stagnant. I did not do a lot for myself. I always equated myself as the mechanic who's making everybody else's cars look fancy, and then have my own car in the shop. That goes back to it's okay to have a little bit of space and time of not having everything be perfect at once, but I'm actually just finished a rebrand. I'm very excited about it. And I just came up with my new tagline this year, which is small moves, big waves. And I was a scuba diver back when I was, 16 years old out in the South Pacific. And I used to scuba dive with these beautiful manta rays, and they have these 10-foot wingspans, and which is the tiniest flick of a wing, boom, it would go, across the ocean. You're just like, that's incredible. And when I was thinking about that, I translated it to my marketing and design concepts, where it's like when you start to make those intentional designs with those intentional movements, you really can go so much further, but it has to be well thought out. It has to be positioned the right way, because without it, then you're just making waves in the ocean, So, but if it's intentionally thought out, then you can really go forward. And I'm really excited about just pushing to the next level.
So, Kate, as a business owner, what is most important to you? What do you hold close to your heart?
I think at the end of the day, it's really important to be authentically yourself. So once again, no one can be you. You want to wear your brand like your favorite jacket, but everyone's jacket doesn't look the same, and that's okay. It used to be, you have to wear a suit and a tie and show up this certain way. That's just not the case anymore. Show your tattoos, have your piercings, be a cool, surfer person. Everything is okay. So don't shy away from it. Lean into it, because people love authenticity, and people can smell BS from a mile away. And nobody wants to work with that. So just be true to yourself and just really own up to whatever you're saying. And I think that will really come across and shine through with whatever product or service you're trying to offer. Just be yourself and show up and do a good job as well you can.
Fantastic. Well, Kate, we'll end on one final question here that we like to ask our guests to get to know you a little bit more. What's a fun fact about you that nobody knows or that is unexpected for our audience?
I guess something that'd be a little interesting. I actually studied engineering before I went into advertising. And back in my college days when I was 18, you could have seen me sitting on a feed horn of a radar that literally was part of our missile defense system. SpaceX actually got their start out on the islands that I grew up on. So these radars would track some of their missiles. So crazy random story, but going from engineering to advertising and everything in between. Life's an adventure. Just go for
Who would
it.
have thought? That's incredible.
Your right and left side brain.
Where a lot of that process driven probably comes in that you were
Yeah.
mentioning before.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Kate, this has been an absolute pleasure. We enjoy working with you all the time, but certainly having you here today. And we really appreciate your time and wish you well.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Kate.
much. It's been so fun.
Seriously, we appreciate you, and we can't wait to visit you soon.
Thank you. And you guys are just so incredibly amazing. I just want to also give you guys a shout out for doing this. You guys are both absolutely brilliant in your fields. And I'm so excited to continue to follow you and see everybody you bring onto your show. So can't wait to follow the journey. So thank you guys again.
Thank you. Take care, Kate. Appreciate it.